The story of Rajinikanth and Loki, that is Lokesh Kanagaraj. This combination has been talked about since 2020, whereby the original plan was for Kamal to produce the film under his RKFI banner. Quite a decent production house in itself, very good in marketing and social media. And they produce such hit films from the recent Amaran starring Sivakarthikeyan to the ancient Vikram one by Kamal himself. So it's quite a reputed production house owned by Kamal. And the idea was that Lokesh Kanagaraj would bring Rajini as the hero. Kamal might make a cameo with Kamal producing. However, Rajini apparently, the rumor says, had some issues with Kamal's co-producer. If it was Kamal alone, he was willing to participate. And there was another rumor that at this time Lokesh was attempting to ask Kamal and Rajini to come together to act like two aging gangsters battling with each other. Maybe he was thinking along the lines of Face Off or along the lines of Heat, starring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Possible something like this. What's interesting is that we think of a director combining with a hero as quite organized, structured workflow, whereby the director will have a few scripts in hand, bound scripts. He brings it to the director and gives him the option of choosing one of the bound scripts or the stories, and hero chooses it, and then they start the project. However, especially in Kollywood, this is very much not the case. If you see the example of the film Vikram, which was a hit, the recent Vikram, I mean, with Lokesh Kanagaraj and Kamal, what happened was Lokesh has had like a chit chat with Kamal and asked him, "You've done many roles. What kind of roles are you still interested in doing? What kind of role still excites you?" So it's like the conversation between two people, and he found that Kamal said something about. A man who people believe is dead but who's not dead, something like this. Of course, Kamal is now older, and so he has a preoccupation with death. If you see his recent film Uttama Villain, Thug Life, and so on, he has that. And Rajini, of course, his preoccupation is spirituality. And interestingly, when the heroes bring their preoccupations into their films, even Ajit for that matter, with so-called empowerment of women and so on, you find that the movies suffer at the box office, right? So it's imperative that heroes do take into consideration people who are paying to see their work on the screen, right? So that there is some kind of balance there to be achieved. But anyway, I digress. So Loki took the germ of an idea from Kamal about a man people believe to be dead and is still alive. Loki brought in his own film noir style of filmmaking and tried to attach the two together, which means that nighttime filmmaking, hyperviolence, drugs, and all that. And also, he had this sudden bright idea one day about why not the Narayan character from Kaidi, he needed a similar character, and suddenly he thought, why not just use the same person? Actually, it would work. It's two production houses, but the characters, why don't do a crossover? And Kamal was supportive. The one interesting thing about Kamal is he's a big trendsetter in a lot of things. Actually, his drawbacks are many, but his positives among them are creating new trends by exploring things not so common in Hollywood. So he agreed, and then Vikram is now history. The rest is history. So what happened next? After the Rajini project is abandoned, Vikram becomes a hit, and time passes. And one fine day, Anirudh, I would call him Anuman to Rajini, right? Because Anirudh just loves his uncle so much, Rajinikanth. So while he's working with Lokesh, he remembers a story that Lokesh told and say, why not bring it to Rajinikanth? And they decide to go ahead, and surprisingly, Rajini was also interested in the film. Lokesh gave this kind of fantasy kind of a story, and he wants Rajini to play the villain. Okay, Rajini is all cool about that as long as the producer is willing to put the money. But Lokesh already has a label as a Kamal fan. Although recently he's been diluting that. Nowadays he starts saying that he was fed rice while watching a Rajini film, otherwise he won't eat it, and he loved Padayappa and all. And then he said only after seeing Satya film he started going into Kamal's direction. But anyway, so there he's covering both his bases, you can say. So in that situation, He says that the budget is growing. It's a big budget. Sun is willing to support them. Number two, he says it because too many artists, and he thought it would be exhausting for him because if his intention is to make an Avengers kind of film, and he says he wants to make Rajini the villain. So my anticipation, expectation is that it will be a Thanos-like character, right? So probably Loki's strategy would be to choose lots of the how to say B-level young upstart heroes in Hollywood. All the younger ones are coming up. Kavin, Adarwa, Pradeep, you name it, whoever, even older ones like Jayam Ravi and also on and so forth, make them into this group of superheroes or superpowered people. And so there will be some kind of ideology, and then Rajini will probably be the Thanos, the massive villain who crushes them all. And Loki says his inspiration came from watching Mundu Budichi, a film which, if I recall correctly, Rajini will allow Kamal to drown because he likes Kamal's girl, who was Sridevi. And so there's a first portion where he shows villainism and subsequently he shows guilt. Interestingly, this has been explored in a few other Rajini films where he does a sin and then sort of leaves with the remorse with the woman. I'll come to that in another video, but coming back here. So it would have been a big what if and Loki apparently had some major personal problem at this time. So he diverted the script. Became something like a port-related trade union, worker rights kind of a thing, and some gold and everything involved. So probably some kind of a crime, worker union, Rajini versus villain kind of a more of a typical Rajini film. But if you try to do Rajini as a villain, it would have been a big divisive thing, whereby just like Kala by Pa Ranjit, it could have gone either way. But I doubt it could have been as big as a hit that Cooley might become. So ultimately, being a Kamal fan and making Rajini as a villain, going against the typical grain might have been too big a risk. So maybe it's not a bad idea that Loki dropped it ultimately. What do you guys think? But his new, more traditional, it seems to me, way of storytelling, with the harbour setup and Nagarjuna probably some rich villain and Rajini being the person who goes against him. That sounds conventional, but with good editing, good music, fast-paced screenplay, and hyper violence, which is a trend now, most likely Cooley, very low chance of flopping. Although after Thug Life and Indian 2, we are so scared to make those predictions. But it will at least do average, above average. Being a level of jailer still might be possible, but 1,000 crore, lots of limitations. The War 2 that Cooley is going against, their team made very good preparation. They locked up all the IMAX screens and all the higher ticket price screens and all that. So it's going to be a tight fight. In all these aspects, 1,000 crores might be quite difficult. And Bollywood films also have not been as sharp in marketing, in doing English and Telugu, Hindi dubbing, and releasing them quickly in their marketing promos like the other industries like Telugu do. So Bollywood has lots of catching up to do, but there is still hope. So Rajini as Thanos in Loki's multiverse fantasy film. What do you guys think? What I think is that maybe if Cooley become a super duper hit, just like Nelson got Jailer 2, it's very possible. If it, let's say, 1,500 or 1,800 crores, I think he might even be tempted to say, okay, after Kylie 2, I'm coming back with Rajini. Very, very possible. This is very possible. And Rajini also might go for one film with a small time filmmaker like Nithilan, who made Maharaja, and then come back with Loki. So what do you guys think? Rajini Thanos in the future, do you want it or not?